Welcome to today's video lecture. This is another video that's a continuation of Lecture 8. And today we're going to be discussing data available on the USGS website and on another website called the UNH weather website. To access the web page that you need for this curriculum, make sure you go through the link that's available on the 4 Weeks on Water website. If you go to the 4 Weeks on Water website and go to Course Materials and Videos, again, under the data-related links and handouts, if you scroll down a little bit, you can see there's a link for the USGS Water website. If you click on that, it'll take you to the website that you need to go to. USGS stands for the United States Geological Survey, and this is a huge site. They have data on water, air, climate, land use, energy and minerals, environmental health, and tons of GIS data. Even if we just look at the data on water that they have available, it's still a ton of data. First, you want to tell the USGS website that you want to specifically look for data that they have available for New Hampshire. So you go over here, you click the drop-down menu, scroll down to New Hampshire, and click it. Once you get to the web page specifically for New Hampshire, you can still see that there are a ton of options. You can look at current conditions, you can look at site information, surface water, groundwater, water quality. Let's look specifically at surface water data, and we'll look at some current conditions. Once at the current conditions web page, there's another useful map of New Hampshire for reference. And I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see it better. Again, we see dots representing sites where data is being collected. In this case, these are gauge stations collecting data on water levels in different flowing water bodies throughout the state of New Hampshire. If you hover your cursor over one of those dots, you can see that information pops up about it. For example, this is a gauge station in the Peabody River in Gorham, New Hampshire. Here's one in the Androscoggin River. Down here, there's one in the Winnipesaukee River. You can click on one of these sites to gain access to the data collected there. I'm going to click on the one for the station in Errol, New Hampshire, on the Androscoggin River. As you scroll down on this page, you can see that it already has some basic data graphed for me to look at. For example, this first graph. It's labeled as discharge in cubic feet per second, or CFS, and you can see that below the graph it has a little legend telling us what means what. So we're looking at the discharge now in blue over the last few days, and we're looking at the median daily statistic for the discharge this time of year over the last 109 years. As we continue to scroll down this web page, it has other data. It has the gauge height in feet, it has air temperature at that site in both Fahrenheit and centigrade. Up here towards the top of the web page, you can input specific dates to look at specific data on this web page. For example, let's look up data for this site for Hurricane Irene, which occurred in August 2011. Since I know that Hurricane Irene happened at the end of the month of August in 2011, I'm going to put my start date as August 1st, and I'm going to put my end date as September 14th. And I want to look at a graph. You could tell it to give you other data outputs, but I want to look at a graph. And so I'm going to click Go. Takes a minute for it to load. And then again, it says at the top, I'm still looking at the Androscoggin River in Errol. And now it's showing me a graph of high water that was present after all the rainfall from Hurricane Irene. You can see here for the gauge height, it also shows a high water event here during Hurricane Irene. And we can see that there was another high or large rain event causing high water just a few days later. Say you wanted to use this first graph of discharge during Hurricane Irene for your website assignment for this curriculum. You can click on the link below each of the graphs if you want to use one for your research project. It will actually take you to a nice presentation quality graph with a good title, your axes are well labeled, and you can actually copy that and then you could paste it into another document. Or you can right-click and save the image as a JPEG on your computer to insert onto your website. I also want to point out that the USGS already has an entire webpage devoted to tutorials on how to use different sections of the USGS website. So if you go to the 4 Weeks on Water website, again go to Course Materials and Videos, and at the bottom of the data-related links and handouts section, I've included a link to that tutorials webpage. And it takes you to this area where it shows you tutorials, some overview, how to get current conditions data, groundwater data, surface water data, etc. The last data website I want to show to you is the UNH weather data website. Again, start at the 4 Weeks on Water curriculum website, scroll down to the data-related links and handouts area, and there's a link for UNH weather data. This site is useful if you choose an area close to the seacoast for your research topic. The home page of this site displays the data collected on the present day. You can see here the air temperature, dew point, you can see precipitation. There was no precipitation down there. But you can also access weather data collected as far back as 2000. Again, let's look at the example of Hurricane Irene back in August 2011. If you go down to the bottom of the home page and click on Multiple Days, it will automatically come up with the few previous days worth of data. But at the bottom, you can plug in a date range. We're going to plug in the 5th of 2011, 5th of August 2011 to the 5th of September. This is actually a really good example because like the other sites that I've showed you, sometimes this site doesn't have data for particular time frames. You can see here for the first part of that month of August in 2011, there was no data available. However, starting on the 26th of that month, they started having that data available again. And if we go over to here, let's go back up to look at the heading, we're looking at precipitation in inches. We can see that there's 1/3 of an inch, 2 inches, and then 0. And so we could guess, even if we didn't know which day Hurricane Irene was, we could guess that it was probably Saturday, August 27th, when Hurricane Irene hit that area of the state. This concludes this video lecture on data.